YouTube, how's it going? Frogs Angels is back, and I got pre-week 14 power rankings for you guys today. Update these power rankings every single week. Later today, which is Tuesday, we have our straight-up pick'ems with the Frogs Angels guys. Score predictions later in the week. Also doing bowl game predictions, predicting all bowl games. There's actually a pick'ems group you can join. It's free to play, and there's a link in the description. I think it's the first link in the description of all of our videos. You will see the link. Just join it up. Pick your bowl games. A lot of fun. And we'll do playoff predictions, score predictions for the playoffs for college and the NFL, actually. But before we get into these power rankings, go check out our Twitter, Frogs_Angels. Right when you're done watching this video, I'll have updated playoff and Super Bowl predictions. I do round-by-round playoff predictions as well. I update that every single week on our Twitter. So there's a link in the description for our Twitter. It's Frogs_Angels. Go check it out. Also talk during live games. So please check that out. But let's get into these power rankings. The bottom 8 teams. The Niners moved down to the bottom, and it's really because of the injuries. I think this could have been a wild card team, could have been a playoff team if it was fully healthy. Raiders are at 31, Jets 30. The Cardinals move up from a pretty solid win over the Packers. Falcons moving down. Disastrous season for the Falcons. A lot of injuries there. Lions at 27. They put up somewhat of a good fight with the Rams, but couldn't get it done. Bills at 26. I still think the Bills have pretty quality wins, pretty good wins, but, still towards the bottom here. The Giants get a good win over the Bears, despite the Bears missing their quarterback. Still a solid win for them in overtime. Moving on to the next 8. Bengals on a losing streak, had to move them down. The Jags moved way up. Really good win over the Colts. Still a very disappointing season for the Jags, but it's a very good win against the Colts. Everyone, really just shit-talking the Jaguars' defense lately, and they prove everybody wrong there. It's only one game, but they show promise. They show they could do it. Nobody's really got after Andrew Luck recently, and that's a big reason for their success, and they really got after him. The pressure, the hits, the sacks, forced an interception, so it was real good. I'm still a believer in this Jags defense. I still think it's easily a top 10 defense, maybe not based off the stats, well, maybe here and there for stats, but if I'm picking the best 10 defenses in football, they're definitely in there despite what they've done this season. They can win some games down the road here. It's going to be very tough to take the next step, but they can win some games, but it's going to have to be because of their defense. 20, the Panthers. Man, the Panthers were real good earlier in the season. I thought they were a contender, and something happened with the Steelers game. The Steelers stole their souls, I guess you could say. Ever since then, not good. The coaching hasn't been good, and it was good earlier in this year. This is kind of what I thought we would get from the Turner staff. It hasn't been good in the past, and then early in the year it was really good. I'm like, oh, maybe it's because, they never really had a Cam Newton, McCaffrey, but they got to use McCaffrey more. Losing streak continues. It's making the NFC, really the Panthers losing and the Redskins being hurt, and they're 19-20 here, is making it pretty easy for other struggling NFC teams to get in. It's still not done, but those two teams are really struggling. The Redskins have an excuse, though, an insane amount of injuries, starting even before the season with Darius Geis, even though Adrian Peterson's been fine, but Chris Thompson not in there, finally coming back, and the quarterback situation. I think the Redskins could have won that game last night against the Eagles with Colt McCoy in there. It's hard to say. Depends on how Colt McCoy would have played. But the Eagles didn't really play that good. If you look at the stats and if you look at the final score, you're going to what do you mean the Eagles played good? No, I don't really think they played good. I think they missed out on big opportunities. The Redskins defense stepped up, and it was hard for them to be on the field constantly and play well. The Eagles' very first drive of the game was very impressive. But other than that, I didn't really think they played good enough, really. But I think if Colt McCoy would have been in this game, I think the Redskins could have won. I'm not going to say they for sure would have won. But it's very unfortunate for the Redskins because I do like this team. Would they have won a Super Bowl? No. But I do like this team as a playoff team, so it's very unfortunate. The Dolphins at 18, they get a win against the Bills. See if they can stay consistent. The Bucks looking pretty solid. Jameis looked pretty solid. They got a win against the Panthers, so they move up to 17 despite the record. Moving on to the next 8 teams. Eagles at 16, Titans at 15. I think these two teams are pretty much locked at 15 and 16. Couldn't really move them up from here. Couldn't move anybody else ahead of them. They're pretty much locked there. You can, they're interchangeable. You can switch them back and forth. The Colts I had at 9. They moved down to 14. It's not like a loss where it doesn't affect the rest of their season that much. They can still go to the playoffs, but to put up 0 points and to lose to the Kessler and the Jags, it's a little rough, so they did move down quite a bit. The Vikings stick, I don't remember where I had them last week, somewhere around here, not good for the Vikings. The offense, the talent they have, pretty pathetic that they scored 10 points, but they did play the Patriots. They have losses to the Saints, the Rams, the Bears. They play the Bears twice a year. It was a pretty solid team. So they do have, a loss is a loss, but they do have the losses they have are to really good teams, but they got to step it up. But they didn't really move. The main reason they didn't really move down is because the other teams are kind of blowing it as well. So there's really no one that you really can put ahead of them here. Maybe the Colts. Broncos move up to 12. They've been very impressive. They've been winning games. They're feeling it right now. Unfortunate injury to Chris Harris. That kind of sucks. But they got to keep Lindsey going. Philip Lindsay is a beast. They got to keep him going. There's been some times where even when they won, they haven't given him the ball enough. But they're winning games. They got to keep feeding him because he's the real deal. And they got a pretty good unit, honestly, with Royce Freeman too. But the run blocking has been very impressive to me with the Broncos. The line, it's not the best offense line in football, maybe a little better than expected in terms of pass blocking, but still not the best. Not terrible either, but the run blocking has been very, very good. Big reason for the success there. Cortland Sutton's getting going now. I like the way the Broncos look. Right ahead of the Vikings, makes you think. Makes you think about the Keenum Cousins situation. Really makes you think. Makes me think as a Vikings fan. 11, the Steelers, they dropped down pretty far. They lost 2 in a row, so that's the reason for that. I'm kind of sticking true to my formula. If the teams, even though we think the Steelers are better than a couple teams ahead of them, maybe more than a couple teams ahead of them, they lost 2 straight games they should have won. Really, I think they should have beat the Chargers, at home, prime time, no Melvin Gordon. They got to win that game. Defense was bad. James Conner goes down. That's unfortunate. They got to win that game. So they moved down to 11 from now, even though I think they're a better team than this. Ravens kind of stick around this same area at 10, which, you could move them up because their defense is elite. They have an elite defense. But, some of these other teams have been a little more impressive with the teams they played, except the Seahawks did play the Niners. But the Seahawks are rolling. Russell Wilson's playing at a very, very high level right now. It's weird because he's playing at an extremely high level, elite level maybe, but he's also had like 2 games this year, I want to say, Bears and Chargers, those games, where maybe, I can't really remember all the way back to his rookies or his first time playing, but maybe in his elite career, I should say, those 2 games were probably his worst, but then he's playing the way he's playing now. So really, he doesn't have as much talent as he has had in the past. Well, we thought that at one point, but the receivers are coming along. Chris Carson's coming along. Rashad Penny. Offensive line's much improved. So, hey, maybe he's got the talent around him now. So they went up to 9. They're very impressive. Big game between the Seahawks and the Vikings on Monday night. That is a huge game. Huge game. Moving on to the top 8, we'll show 4 at a time here. Cowboys move all the way up to 8 for the win against the Saints. Not only that, they're streaking. Their defense is elite. Very few elite defenses. And they're playing ball right now. They're getting some confidence. I like the way Dak's playing too. Real smooth. Bears are at 7. They moved down a little bit. Couldn't move them down. I thought about putting the Cowboys ahead of them, but I couldn't do it. The Bears, without Trubisky, that's a reason. It's just they're still a very good team and still got an elite defense, maybe the best in football. I think it's between the Bears, Cowboys, Ravens, maybe the Vikings would be next for the top defenses. Chargers definitely up there as well. So the Bears they moved down a little bit, but not too much. They're at 7. Chargers at 6, good win against the Steelers. We'll see what they can do. It's tough not moving the Chargers ahead of this, but I think it's tough because the top 6 teams are really, really good right now, coming off wins. Well, actually, one of them coming off a loss. But Patriots at 5, you could put the Patriots higher. That's a tough one, too, because the Patriots really weren't playing that great of ball, but then they played great ball against the Vikings. Their defense really stood out. So you could move them up higher. There's just really no reason for me to move the other teams down. That's the problem. It's not that I didn't want to move the Patriots up. It's just I didn't want to move the other teams down. There's no reason to move them down. Top four, the Texans are streaking. They're streaking. They're feeling it. And, there was some close games between some teams that, they're average teams, maybe below average, and you kind of made you think, but they keep on winning, and their last 2 games have been super impressive. They're kind of in that winning attitude. That momentum is reaching the peak, and they're just feeling it. They're a very good team on every phase of football, really, I should say. So let's see if they keep rolling. Big game against the Colts this week. Can't wait for that one. Chiefs at 3, maybe not the most impressive win against the Raiders, but they did score 40 points, but they were without Kareem Hunt first week. Midweek they lose him, so it does hurt the team a little bit. So they stay at 3. The Rams move up to 1 ahead of the Saints. The Saints coming off a loss. This is a week-by-week power ranking, so I had to move the Saints down, even though, head-to-head, you'd like to think the Saints are better. This is kind of my formula for my power rankings, so I had to stick with it. Rams go to 1. Even though the Rams, really, their win against the Lions wasn't all that impressive, they were penalized an awful lot, and they still put up the amount of points they did. So I guess that in that way it's impressive, but Goff wasn't too good. They were allowing pressure more than usual against a Lions team who I have at 27, which I still, the Lions are probably better than the 27th best team in football, and I'm not probably, they are. But, so I guess it's not that terrible. Win's a win. They're at 1 for now. A lot of changes in the top range there. Not too much at the bottom. I feel like that 17 through 24 has been the same teams, really just kind of swapping here and there. But that's my power ranks from week 14, not 4, 14. Season's flying by. Can't wait for the playoffs mainly because I think it's going to calm down. I think and I hope it's going to calm down a little bit. We'll start to see, the healthy teams play. You don't see too many injuries in the playoffs because those guys are the guys that seem to stay healthy and they can stay healthy. So that's why there's less injuries in the playoffs, way less injuries in the playoffs. We also see the best officiating crews, so that's a good thing. This year's been weird though, so actually it wouldn't really surprise me either way if it was a normal playoffs or if it kind of stayed true to this year. To me, at this point, for a lot of these teams, it's just about getting there. It's about getting to the dance. That's really what it is, because I think anything can happen in the playoffs. Because I really not anything could happen, but I think whoever plays best on that day is what I should say. And I think even though there's top teams, Rams, Saints, Chiefs, all those teams, I think the other teams, even down looking at the Seahawks, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Vikings, I think those teams are capable once you get to the if they get to the playoffs, once you get to the playoffs, they're capable of outplaying one of the other teams that are better than them really at any time. Can they stay consistent enough to win multiple games in the playoffs? That's a different question, but I think they can win at any given time in a round of the playoffs. So that's why I can't wait for the playoffs. Should be fun. But that's going to do it for this one. Subscriber goals, 10K subscribers. Big things happening on the channel at 10K, so please help us get there. Clicking the like button would be much, much appreciated. But that's going to do it. Again, they're going to have plenty of bowl game and playoff prediction videos. 2 separate ones, actually. We'll do score predictions for the playoffs. All kinds of fun stuff. Working on a mock draft, too. Don't have an exact date when that's coming, but it should be here by next week. A lot of things we're working on here. And then we have our normal scheduled prediction videos, live streams on every Friday. So stay tuned for all that. Thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. That's going to do it for this one. Goodbye.